The alien war camp was loud that night. Fires burned in iron pits. Smoke curled up to the black sky. Alien soldiers sat in circles, eating, drinking, and laughing after a long day of drills. Their voices echoed through the metal walls of the camp, deep and sharp like growls. At the center of the camp, a new sound rose above the noise. It was not laughter of victory, but laughter of mockery. The soldiers pointed at something small, something strange, and they could not hold their joy. They laughed so hard that even their armored chests shook. What they laughed at was simple, a honey badger. The creature stood on the dirt, its fur ragged and rough, its size no greater than a sack of grain. Its body looked slow, its legs short, its face almost foolish, compared to the tall war beasts of the alien race. Creatures with fangs like knives and claws like swords. The honey badger looked weak. Some aliens even bent over, slapping their knees, unable to stop their laughter. This is a human's beast? One shouted, his voice dripping with scorn. Another added, we could crush it with one step of our warhounds. The laughter grew louder and louder, filling the camp like thunder. But beside the small animal stood a child, a human child. He could not have been older than 12 years. His clothes were simple, a little torn from travel. Dust clung to his face and hair, but his eyes were bright. He stood straight, with his hands behind his back, as if the laughter around him did not matter. The child did not move. He did not shout. He only watched as the honey badger stood on the dirt. The creature did not fear the crowd. It sniffed the air and growled softly, a low sound that made a few soldiers pause for only a moment before laughing again. Is this a gift? One alien mocked. A joke? Humans bring this as their weapon? A pet for children, another barked. It would die in one bite from our beasts. Still, the child did not answer. His face showed no fear, no anger. Only a small smile. The captain of the alien unit pushed through the crowd. His armor was heavy, painted black and red. His eyes glowed faintly in the firelight. He towered over the child like a shadow of death. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of command. Human, the captain said, is this truly your beast? Do you stand here to insult us with this tiny creature? The camp went silent for a moment, waiting for the child's reply. The boy looked up at the captain, then down at the honey badger. He reached out a hand and touched its head gently. The creature stood firm, unshaken by the noise or the crowd. The boy's smile grew just a little. This is not a joke, the child said, his voice calm. This is a honey badger, and it is enough. The words made the camp explode with fresh laughter. The sound rolled through the air like a storm. Some soldiers fell to ground, holding their sides from laughing too hard. Others spat their drinks, unable to believe the child's pride in such a small animal. Enough? Enough for what? One soldier mocked. Enough to clean the dirt from our boots, another sneered. Even the captain laughed, though his voice was darker, deeper, sharper. Child, you stand in a war camp. We train with beasts larger than your home. We ride them into battle. They crush armor. They tear steel. And you bring us this? This rat with fur? The boy looked up again. His small body seemed tiny under the towering alien captain, but his eyes did not waver. His voice did not shake. Laugh now, he said softly, almost like a whisper. But wait. The words were simple. They were quiet, but they cut through the camp like a blade. The laughter slowed. A few soldiers frowned. Something in the boy's tone was not normal. Something in his eyes was not weak. The honey badger growled again, louder this time. Its teeth flashed in the firelight. Its claws dug into the dirt. It looked up at the towering aliens, as if they were no more than prey. The child placed his hand on the creature's back. The small smile never left his lips. You see a joke, he said, looking at the soldiers around him. "But I see the truth. You think small means weak. You think size is strength. You will learn different." The crowd shifted. Some soldiers stopped laughing. Some looked uneasy. But the captain only grinned wider, showing sharp teeth. "Very well, human," he said. "We will test this truth of yours. Let us see what your honey badger can do." The soldiers roared with approval, eager for a show. They wanted to see blood. They wanted to see the tiny creature torn apart before their eyes. But the child only nodded. He bent down, whispered into the honey badger's ear, and stood again. His eyes burned bright, his voice low but clear. "It will be enough," he said. And the camp, once filled with laughter, now carried a shadow of silence. A silence heavy with a question none of them could answer yet. Why was the child so sure? The firelight flickered across the alien camp. Shadows stretched long, twisting against the walls, while the laughter that once filled the night now turned into sharp whispers. Soldiers leaned in close to one another, waiting for what was to come. Their eyes gleamed with hunger, not for food, but for spectacle. They wanted to see the human child's pride crushed. The captain stepped forward, his heavy boots sinking into the dirt. Each step seemed to shake the ground. His armored hand pointed at the honey badger. "If this is your beast," he said, his voice loud enough to silence every whisper, "then we will test it. No words, no boasts, only truth." The soldiers roared their approval. A test, a fight, blood and proof. The boy did not flinch. He only placed a steady hand on the honey badger's back. The small animal growled low and steady, as if it already knew what was about to happen. The boy nodded once, then spoke. "Test it," he said. His tone was calm, but his eyes burned with fire. The captain raised his clawed hand, and the soldiers hurried to obey. A pair of them dragged open an iron cage at the far side of the camp. The bars screeched as they pulled the door wide. From inside came a deep, guttural growl that made even the laughter fade into silence. The creature that stepped out was no pet. It was a predator bred for war. Its body was twice the size of the child. Thick muscle rippled under dark scales. Its eyes glowed yellow like burning coals, and long fangs curved down past its lips. The moment it sniffed the air, the soldiers backed away to give it space. It slammed its tail against the ground, leaving cracks in the dirt. The boy's honey badger stood only chest-high to the predator's knee. The size difference was almost laughable. Some soldiers chuckled again, but their voices were softer now. Something about the boy's calm face made their laughter less certain. The captain's lips curled in a sharp smile. "Let your beast prove itself human." The predator snarled, foam dripping from its jaws. Then the captain gave the order. "Release it." The beast lunged forward. Its claws ripped the dirt as it charged, faster than most eyes could follow. Its roar split the night, shaking the iron cages nearby. Soldiers stepped back from the circle, not wishing to be caught in the path of the monster's fury. The honey badger did not run. It lowered its body, teeth bared, claws ready. The child whispered one soft word. "Now!" The predator struck first, jaws snapping down with enough force to break bone and crush steel. The honey badger twisted aside at the last instant, its claws flashing. It slashed across the beast's face, drawing blood. The camp gasped. The predator howled in rage and swung its tail, knocking the honey badger across the dirt. Dust exploded into the air. Soldiers cheered, thinking it was over. But when the dust cleared, the honey badger was already back on its feet. Its eyes glowed with madness, its body shaking but unbroken. It charged. The small creature leapt straight at the predator's throat. Teeth sank into flesh. Blood sprayed in the firelight. The predator slammed itself against the ground, rolled, clawed, and bit, trying to shake the honey badger off. But the animal clung tighter. Its jaws refused to release. Its claws tore deeper with every second. The crowd was no longer laughing. Their cheers turned to silence. They stared as the predator, larger and stronger, thrashed wildly, yet could not free itself from the honey badger's grip. The boy watched with calm eyes. His hands were folded behind his back, his voice steady. "Do not stop. Show them." The predator slammed into a cage, bending iron bars, but still the honey badger did not let go. Blood poured from its wounds, but its bite only grew stronger. The monster shrieked, its body twisting, but pain was not enough to break the small beast's fury. Minutes passed. The soldiers shifted uneasily. Some whispered, "It should have been over. Why does it still fight?" Others looked at the human child with new eyes, their scorn replaced by something else, something close to fear. Finally, the predator staggered, its legs trembling. Its roars turned into weak growls. Blood stained the dirt in dark pools. With one last violent shake, it collapsed. Its massive body hit the ground with a thunderous crash, unmoving. The honey badger released its grip at last. Its face and body were smeared with blood. Its chest heaved, but its eyes burned bright. Slowly, it limped back to the child's side. The boy knelt, touching its head gently. "Good job," he whispered. "You've done enough." The camp was silent. No alien laughed now. No one dared speak. All eyes were fixed on the child and his beast. The captain's jaw tightened. His soldiers shifted nervously, waiting for his word. This was no simple joke anymore. What they had seen was no trick. It was truth. The child rose to his feet. His voice carried clearly, even in the silence. "You see it now," he said. "Small does not mean weak. You think strength is size. You think power is noise. But real strength is something else." The honey badger growled beside him, as if echoing his words. And for the first time, the aliens did not laugh. The predator's body still twitched on the dirt. Blood dripped from its wounds, mixing with the dust, turning the ground dark and wet. The soldiers who once laughed now stood frozen, their wide eyes reflecting the firelight. None of them had expected what they had just seen. A tiny beast had done what no one thought possible. The honey badger stood at the center of it all. Its sides heaved with every breath, its fur torn, its face smeared red. Yet its eyes still shone with a fierce glow. It looked around a circle of towering aliens and snarled, daring anyone to move closer. The human child knelt beside it. His hand rested gently on its back. "Enough," he whispered, his voice soft but steady. The small creature did not relax. Its teeth still showed. Its claws scraped the dirt. It was ready to fight again if needed. The captain stepped forward, his face hard, his pride wounded. His soldiers looked at him, waiting for his reaction. Would he admit what they had all seen? Or would he turn the moment into something else? The captain's lips curled back. "One victory means nothing," he said coldly. That beast was weak. It was untrained. A real predator would not have fallen so easily. But his voice did not carry the same weight as before. Deep down, every soldier knew the truth. The predator had been strong. They had trained with it. They had feared its power in their drills. Yet it had fallen to a creature no bigger than a sack of grain. Still, the captain would not give ground. He lifted his arm and shouted, "Bring another!" Gasps spread through the crowd. Some soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. The predator's corpse was proof enough, but their leader was not satisfied. The child stood slowly. His eyes never left the captain. "One was enough," he said, calm but sharp. "You saw it. All of you." The captain sneered. "We will see again. Perhaps your beast was lucky." A second cage rattled open. The sound of iron grinding filled the air. From the shadows came another predator, larger than the first. Its eyes glowed a brighter yellow, its scales thicker, its claws sharper. It roared as it stepped into the ring, shaking the camp to its core. The soldiers stepped back again, giving the monster room. Their eyes flicked between the predator and the honey badger. They wanted to see if the impossible could happen twice. The honey badger growled, louder this time. Despite its wounds, despite its blood, it stepped forward on short, sturdy legs. Its fur bristled. Its mouth opened, showing teeth that gleamed in the firelight. The boy leaned close, whispering into its ear again. "One more," he said. "Show them." The second predator charged without hesitation. Its body moved like a storm of muscle and fury. Dust rose in clouds behind it. Its claws ripped deep lines in the dirt. The honey badger ran straight toward it. The crowd gasped as the tiny beast met the giant head-on. The predator's jaws opened wide, ready to crush it. But at the last second, the honey badger ducked low, slipping beneath the monster's snapping teeth. It clawed at the soft flesh under its jaw. Blood sprayed into the air. The predator roared in pain and rage. It reared up, towering over the honey badger, and smashed down with both front claws. The ground cracked from the force. Dust and stone flew. For a moment, the honey badger disappeared beneath the weight. Soldiers cheered, thinking the fight was over. But then the dust cleared. The honey badger was still there. Its body was bent, bleeding, but its jaws were locked onto the predator's paw. It tore and ripped with savage force, refusing to let go. The predator screamed, shaking its arm wildly, trying to fling the smaller creature away. The soldiers who had cheered now stood silent. Some looked pale, others whispered, "It does not stop. It will never stop." The predator slammed its paw against the ground again and again, blood flying with every strike. The honey badger only bit deeper. Its claws raked the predator's flesh, carving red lines across thick scales. The child's eyes blazed with pride. He called out, his voice rising above the chaos. "Do you see it now? Do you see what humans choose as their partner?" The predator staggered. Its body was strong, but pain slowed its movements. The honey badger climbed up its arm, clawing, tearing, biting. It went for the throat again, the same way it had ended the last fight. The predator thrashed, smashing its body against the cages, the walls, the ground. Each strike shook the camp. Fires flickered. Soldiers stumbled. Yet the honey badger clung on like a shadow of death, relentless, unbreakable. At last, with one final scream, the predator collapsed. Its body slammed into the dirt, sending up a cloud of dust. It shivered, twitched, then lay still. The honey badger released its grip once more. Its chest rose and fell, heavy and slow. It turned, limped, and walked back to the boy. Its mouth was red with blood, but its eyes still burned with that same fire. The camp was silent again. Even the captain could not speak. His pride had been shattered. His soldiers no longer laughed. Some stared at the child with awe, others with fear. The boy placed a hand on his beast. His voice was calm but cold. "This is the honey badger. You mocked it. You mocked me. But strength is not what you think it is. Strength is will. Strength is refusing to stop." The honey badger growled one last time, its voice echoing into the night, and not a single alien dared laugh again. The campfire burned lower now, its flames throwing long shadows across the dirt. Two predators lay still, their blood soaking the ground. The honey badger stood beside the boy, its body wounded, its fur stained red, but its eyes still fierce. Around them, the alien soldiers said nothing. The night was filled only with the crackle of fire and the slow, steady breathing of the little beast. The silence fell heavy. It was the kind of silence that came after pride was broken. The captain's jaw tightened as he looked at the boy. His pride was gone, but his anger had taken its place. His soldiers waited for him to speak, but he said nothing. For the first time, doubt flickered in their eyes. The child placed his hand on the honey badger's head, stroking it gently. His voice was soft, but it carried across the camp. This is what you saw. Small, yes. Weak-looking, maybe, but it does not stop. Not until the end. Some soldiers lowered their eyes. Others shifted uneasily. The child's words felt sharper than any blade. The captain finally broke the silence. His voice was sharp, but it wavered. Tricks. That is all this is. A beast fighting for a child is nothing. He pointed at the boy, his eyes burning with rage. If humans are so strong, then let you prove it. Not your animal. You! The soldiers gasped. A challenge. The boy looked up slowly. His eyes locked with the captain's, steady and fearless. The honey badger growled, sensing the danger, but the boy placed a firm hand on its back. No, he whispered to the beast. This one is mine. The soldiers formed a circle. Their boots scraped against the dirt as they widened the space. The night grew colder, the stars watching from above. The boy stepped into the center, standing straight despite his size. Across from him, the captain loomed like a tower of steel and fury. The alien removed his heavy outer armor, dropping it with a loud thud. His body was thick with muscle, his claws sharp, his skin marked with scars of old battles. He grinned, showing long teeth. You are no warrior, he spat. You are just a child. The boy did not answer. He clenched his fists, his small frame trembling, not with fear but with resolve. His eyes burned like the honey badger's. The fight began. The captain lunged first, his speed terrifying for his size. His clawed hand swung down like a blade. The boy rolled aside, the claw striking the dirt where he had stood. Dust flew into the air. The soldiers cheered, expecting the child to be crushed quickly. But the boy stood again, fast and firm. He raised his fist, his stance sharp, trained. The captain attacked again. His strikes were heavy, each one strong enough to break bone. The boy dodged, slipped aside, and struck back with quick blows. His fists landed against the alien's ribs, his kicks against the alien's legs. They were small hits, but they were fast. Each one made the captain stumble slightly. The soldiers' cheers grew quieter. Their eyes widened. This was no ordinary child. The captain roared in anger and swung harder. This time his strike caught the boy across the shoulder, sending him crashing to the ground. Dust filled the air. The honey badger growled fiercely, ready to leap in, but the boy raised a hand. Stay, he commanded. His voice shook, but his eyes did not. Slowly, painfully, he stood up again. Blood dripped from his lip. His small body trembled, but he did not fall. The captain sneered. Stay down, little human. You cannot win. The boy spat blood to the dirt and smiled through it. Humans don't stop. The fight raged on. Again and again, the captain struck. Again and again, the boy fell. His body was bruised, his clothes torn, his breath heavy. Yet every time he hit the ground, he rose again. His fists clenched tighter. His eyes burned brighter. The soldiers whispered among themselves now. Their voices were low, filled with disbelief. Why does he stand? Why does he not give up? The boy's answer came with his actions. He would not yield. Each time he rose, he struck again, faster, harder, sharper. His blows began to land with more weight. His feet struck the captain's legs. His fists found the alien's chest. Small wounds opened. The captain's breathing grew heavier. The honey badger growled at the edge of the circle, its eyes blazing, as if feeding the boy its own spirit. Finally, the captain staggered. Sweat dripped from his skin, his chest heaved. He charged once more, but his swing was slower now. The boy ducked, twisted and struck hard into the captain's side. The alien fell to one knee, his claws digging into the dirt. The camp fell silent again. The boy stood over him, swaying but unbroken. His face was bruised, his lip bleeding, his arms trembling, but his eyes shone with fire. "This," he said, his voice low but steady, "is what humans are. Small, yes, but we rise. We fight. We never stop. That is why we win." The honey badger stepped forward, limping, but still growling with fury, as if to stand guard beside its human partner. The soldiers stared in silence. Their laughter was gone. In its place was respect and fear. The campfire burned low, and its glow painted the circle of soldiers in orange light. The silence that followed the fight between the boy and the captain was heavy, pressing down on every chest. 2 dead predators lay cold on the dirt. The honey badger, though bleeding, still growled softly. The boy, bruised and battered, stood tall in the center of the ring, his small figure casting a long shadow. The alien captain knelt in the dirt, one hand pressed against his side, where the boy's final strike had landed. His breath came hard and uneven, his pride broken in front of his own warriors. The soldiers did not cheer for their captain. They did not laugh at the boy. They did not mock the honey badger. Instead, they stared in uneasy silence, waiting for someone else to speak. The air felt thick with shame and confusion. The boy's voice cut through that silence. "This is what humans are. You think small means weak. You think strength is size. But strength is will, and our will does not break." His words were calm, almost quiet, yet they reached every ear. Some soldiers looked away, unable to meet the child's gaze. Others clenched their fists, their faces dark with anger. Respect was growing in some hearts. But for others, the wound to their pride was too deep to accept. The captain finally rose. His body shook with pain, but his eyes burned with fury. He pointed a clawed finger at the boy. "You dare!" he roared, his voice echoing against the metal walls of the camp. "You dare shame me before my soldiers? You dare shame us all with your words." The soldiers stirred. Their pride as a race had been challenged. The image of a child standing victorious while their strongest warrior bled in the dirt was unbearable. One soldier shouted from the crowd, his voice sharp, "This is a trick. No child could defeat a warrior of our kind. No animal that small could kill our beasts." Another followed. "He has humiliated us. This cannot stand." Voices rose, mixing anger and denial. Some soldiers demanded blood. Others demanded another test. The camp filled with shouts, with rage, with the pounding of fists against armor. The ground seemed to shake with their fury. The boy stood still in the center of the storm. His honey badger pressed against his leg, its teeth bared, ready to defend him. But the boy raised his hand, signaling the creature to stay calm. His voice was steady, even against the roar of alien rage. "You laugh at what you do not understand. You call it a trick because you cannot accept the truth. I fought. My partner fought. We did not stop. That is all." But his calm words only made the anger worse. The captain raised his arms, silencing the crowd. His face was twisted with fury and shame. "Enough. We will not be mocked by a child. We will not be defeated by humans. If he wishes to prove his kind strength, then let him face more than one. Let him face all of us." The soldiers roared in approval, their pride demanding vengeance. The sound rolled through the camp like thunder. The boy's eyes narrowed. His body was tired, bruised, bleeding, but his stance did not waver. The honey badger growled, low and deep. "You would send all of you against a child?" he asked, his tone cold. So much pride, so much fear. The word struck like a knife. Some soldiers flinched, but the captain's anger left no room for retreat. He shouted, "Form the circle. We will crush this child and his beast together." The soldiers obeyed, moving into a ring around the boy. Dozens of them, armored and armed, eyes burning with rage. Their boots stamped against the dirt, their voices chanting in unison, a war song that shook the night. The boy stood in the center, small and alone, his honey badger at his side. The odds were impossible, yet he did not look afraid. His lips curved into a faint smile. "You still do not understand," he said softly, "but you will." The first soldier charged. His clawed hand swung down, but the boy dodged, striking quick and sharp against the soldier's arm. The alien stumbled, surprised by the speed. The honey badger leapt, sinking its teeth into the soldier's leg. Blood spilled as the soldier roared in pain. Before the boy could recover, another alien rushed him. A heavy fist slammed into his side, sending him to the ground. The soldiers cheered, their anger boiling over. But again the boy stood. Again his eyes burned. "Humans don't stop," he spat, his voice rough with pain. The battle became chaos. Soldiers attacked in waves. The boy was struck, thrown, battered, his body bruised, his blood fell to the dirt, but he always stood again. He struck back when he could, quick punches and kicks that landed harder than they should. The honey badger fought like a demon, tearing, biting, clawing, never releasing, never giving up. The circle of soldiers began to falter. They had numbers, size, strength, yet the child and his beast would not fall. Every time they thought the fight was over, every time they thought the human would stay down, he rose again. His eyes glowed with that same unbreakable fire. His voice, though weak, carried through the battle. "We fight together. We do not fear pain. We do not fear death." Hours seemed to pass in that circle. The campfire burned low. The ground was covered in dust and blood. Dozens of soldiers lay groaning, their bodies broken by the child and his beast. Still more stood ready, but their eyes no longer burned with anger alone. Now there was fear and something else, respect. The captain, still bleeding from his earlier fight, watched with growing dread. His soldiers, the pride of his unit, could not bring down one human child and his partner. He saw their spirits breaking. He saw their doubt, and he knew what that meant. If a single human child could do this, what could grown humans do? The thought chilled him more than the cold night air. At last, the boy stood tall in the center of the circle. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. His face was bruised, his body cut, but he still stood. The honey badger leaned against his leg, bleeding but alive, its eyes still burning. The boy's voice rang out across the camp, hoarse but strong. "You ask why humans are dangerous. You ask why we do not fear. Now you see, we do not stop. We fight together. That is why we win." The soldiers did not laugh. They did not jeer. They looked at him in silence, their anger drained, replaced by something far stronger, fear and respect. The captain clenched his fists, but he could no longer deny the truth. He had seen it with his own eyes. His soldiers had seen it. The boy had proved it. The honey badger gave one last growl, its voice low and deadly, and the sound echoed into the night. And in that silence, the aliens finally understood. The camp lay in silence. Dust hung in the air, and the smell of blood and sweat mixed with the fading smoke from the fire. Broken weapons lay scattered across the ground. Many soldiers groaned where they had fallen, nursing wounds and staring with hollow eyes at the small human boy and the beast that stood with him. The honey badger leaned heavily against the child's leg, its sides heaving, its fur dark with blood. The boy's own face was pale, his lips cracked, his body trembling from pain and exhaustion. Yet he stood tall. His eyes burned with the same fire as before. His chest rose and fell, each breath sharp but steady. The captain's voice finally broke the silence. Low, sharp, filled with venom. This cannot be. This will not be remembered. A human child will not shame us. He staggered forward, clutching his wounded side. His armor hung broken, his pride shattered, but his rage gave him strength. He raised his clawed hand toward the boy. Kill him. Kill the beast. Erase this insult. A murmur passed through the soldiers. Some raised their weapons, but their movements were slow, unsure. Their eyes shifted between the boy, the beast, and their captain. Fear weighed heavy on them. Not fear the child's fists or the honey badger's claws, but fear what they had just witnessed. The will of a human that refused to die. One soldier finally spoke. His voice shook, but it carried through the camp. Captain, he fought all of us. He stood against the circle. He did not fall. To kill him now, it would not erase shame. It would give us more. Another soldier added, We mocked him. We mocked the beast. But they proved stronger than we believed. Stronger than we understood. The captain's eyes flared with fury. You dare speak against me? Against your leader? The soldiers lowered their eyes, but the doubt remained. The circle was breaking, not by force of arms, but by the truth of what they had seen. The boy's voice rose again, weak but steady. You think killing me will bring back your pride, but it will not. You cannot erase what happened here. You cannot unsee it. His honey badger growled, standing shakily at his side, baring bloodied teeth at the captain. The boy lifted his hand and placed it on the creature's head. His touch was gentle, steadying both himself and the beast. He looked at the circle of aliens, his eyes sharp. You fear the truth, but some of you also know it. You saw it. You felt it. Humans don't stop, and we don't fight alone. The words cut through the air like a blade. The captain bared his teeth, his pride screaming for revenge. He lunged forward with a roar, claws raised high, aiming to tear the boy apart in front of everyone. But the boy was ready. He stepped aside, faster than his wounds suggested he could. The honey badger leapt, striking the captain's arm. Blood sprayed his claws and teeth sank deep. The captain howled, trying to shake the beast loose. The boy struck next, his fist slamming into the alien's chest. It was not the strength of muscle, but the strength of will, the fire of a spirit that refused to bend. The captain stumbled back, gasping for breath. The boy shouted, his voice ringing through the camp. This is the fight you wanted. You mocked us, and now you see what happens when humans fight back. The soldiers froze, their eyes locked on the struggle. The captain clawed at the honey badger, tearing at its fur, but the beast held fast, unyielding. The boy struck again and again, each blow fueled by the defiance of his kind. At last, with one final cry, the captain fell to his knees. His body shook, blood pouring from his wounds. He tried to rise, but the strength was gone. The boy stood above him, his chest heaving, his small fists clenched. The camp was silent once more. The boy's words came, soft but powerful. You wanted to crush me. You wanted to break me. But I am still standing. My beast is still fighting. That is what it means to be human. The honey badger released the captain's arm, stepping back to stand at the boy's side. Its face was soaked in blood, its eyes still burning. The soldiers looked at their fallen leader. Their pride, their strength, their unshakable image had been broken not by armies, not by weapons, but by a single child and his partner. One soldier dropped his weapon. The sound of metal hitting dirt rang loud in the silence. Another followed, then another. Soon, weapons lay scattered across the ground. Dozens of alien soldiers stood unarmed, their eyes lowered, their voices quiet. They had not been defeated by force alone. They had been defeated by truth, by will, by the sight of something they could no longer deny. The boy swayed on his feet, his vision blurring. Pain tore through every part of his body. Yet he did not fall. He looked at the soldiers, his voice low but steady. This is not about me. This is not about one human. This is about all of us. You thought we were weak. You thought we would bow or break or die. But we don't. Not ever. And that is why you fear us. The words sank deep into the soldiers' hearts. They had mocked. They had laughed. But now none of them laughed. None of them spoke. They only listened. The boy's knees buckled. But the honey badger pressed against his leg, holding him up. Together they stood. In that moment, something shifted. Some soldiers still felt rage, still wanted revenge. But many more felt something different. Respect, fear, and a strange kind of admiration. The captain groaned, his body broken, his pride shattered. His voice was weak, almost a whisper. This changes nothing. You are still only a child. The boy looked down at him, his eyes steady. Maybe, but even a child can show the truth. And the truth is stronger than your pride. The honey badger growled, its sound deep and final. The captain lowered his head, unable to speak again. The boy turned from him, facing the circle of soldiers. You wanted to see human strength. Now you have seen it. Remember it. Tell it to your people. Tell them humans do not stop. Tell them we fight back. The soldiers exchanged uneasy looks. Some bowed their heads. Others clenched their fists. None moved to attack again. The campfire burned low, its last embers glowing red. The night air was heavy with silence. And in that silence, a new fear began to spread among the aliens. Not of the boy, not of the honey badger, but the humans waiting beyond the stars. Because if one child and one beast could do this, what could a world of humans do? The boy leaned down, resting a hand on his honey badger's back. His voice dropped to a whisper, meant only for his companion. We're not done. Not yet. But they understand now. The honey badger's growl softened, turning into a low rumble of agreement. The boy lifted his head, his eyes still burning with that unbreakable fire. He stood in the middle of the alien camp, small and bloodied, but unbroken. And all around him, hardened soldiers shifted uneasily, shaken by the truth that could no longer be ignored. The fight was over, but the war, the real war, was only beginning. The alien camp lay under a dark and endless sky. The fire had burned down to ashes, leaving faint red embers glowing like dying stars. The ground was scarred with blood and dust, silent except for the low groans of the wounded. The soldiers stood in scattered groups, their weapons abandoned, their eyes heavy with unease. At the center of it all, the boy still stood. His body shook with exhaustion, bruises and cuts covering his skin. The honey badger leaned against him, breathing hard. Its fur stained with blood, but its eyes remained sharp and alive. Together, they looked like shadows carved from the night, small, battered, but unbroken. No one moved. No one laughed. The silence of the camp was heavier than any battle. The boy finally spoke. His voice was low, but in the quiet, every word carried. You thought we were weak. You thought we would kneel. But you were wrong. Humans don't kneel. Humans don't stop. And now you know. The words echoed in the soldiers' hearts. Some lowered their eyes in shame. Others clenched their fists, anger warring with fear. But all of them knew the truth. Their pride had been shattered, not by an army, not by a weapon, but by a single child and a beast that refused to die. The captain still lay on the ground, his body broken, his pride in pieces. He glared at the boy with bloodshot eyes, but he could not rise. His voice rasped out, bitter and weak. You think this matters? You are one child, one beast. The galaxy will crush your kind. The boy's eyes met his, steady and unblinking. Maybe the galaxy is bigger than me. But I am enough to show you this. Humans will never bow. Not to you. Not to anyone. The honey badger growled, low and deadly, sealing his word with a promise of teeth and claws. For a long time, no one spoke. Then, from the back of the circle, a soldier stepped forward. His armor was dented, his arm bleeding from a wound. His face was hard, but his voice was quiet. I saw it. He stood against all of us. He should have fallen, but he did not. No creature with flesh alone should have survived, but he did. That is human. Another soldier joined him. We mocked him. We mocked the beast, but they fought like fire. I do not understand it, but I cannot deny it. The word spread through the camp like sparks on dry grass. One soldier after another admitted the truth, some with shame, some with awe, some with fear. The circle that had once jeered and mocked was now divided, torn between rage and respect. The boy's chest heaved, his breast ragged. He swayed, close to collapse, but he forced himself to stay upright. He had to. This was no longer about his fight. It was about what came after. He raised his voice again, though it hurt to speak. You will tell this story. You will tell it to your people. Tell them a human child stood against your warriors and did not fall. Tell them a human beast fought without fear. Tell them that when humans fight back, we do not stop until we win. The soldiers shifted uneasily. The truth of his words was already sinking deep. They knew this moment could not be erased. Even if they killed him now, the story had already been written in their hearts. The captain tried to rise again, fury burning in his broken body. No, we will not carry his words. We will not carry his shame. He staggered, reaching for a fallen blade. But before he could strike, the honey badger leapt forward, its teeth snapping. The blade fell from the captain's hand as he collapsed again, too weak to resist. The beast stood over him, growling, daring anyone to challenge it. The boy's voice came once more, sharp and final. Then you will carry my silence. Either way, the truth will follow you. The captain lay still, his strength gone, his command shattered. The soldiers looked at him, then back at the boy. Slowly, one by one, they lowered their heads, not in surrender, but in recognition. The boy's vision blurred, the edges of the world fading. He sank to his knees beside his honey badger, resting his hand on its back. The creature leaned against him, its breathing ragged but steady. Together, they had survived. Together, they had changed something far greater than themselves. One soldier whispered, almost to himself, "If this is what a human child can do, what are the adults?" Another answered, his voice heavy with realization, "Then we are not ready for war with their kind." The murmurs grew. Fear spread, but so did respect. The legend was already taking shape. The boy closed his eyes for a moment, letting the night air cool his battered body. He whispered to the honey badger, his voice barely audible, "We did it. They'll remember." The creature gave a soft growl in reply, not fierce this time, but steady and loyal. When the boy opened his eyes again, he saw the soldiers watching him, not as they had before, with scorn and laughter, but with something new, something dangerous. He forced himself to stand once more, though his body screamed with pain. His voice was weak but clear. "Remember this night. Remember it well. Because humans are coming. And when we fight as one. Child, soldier, beast, it does not matter. We fight together. And we do not stop." The words settled over the camp like a final judgment. The boy turned and walked toward the edge of the camp, his honey badger limping at his side. No one tried to stop him. No one dared. The silence followed him into the darkness, broken only by the sound of his uneven steps and the soft growls of his companion. Behind him, the alien soldiers stood in silence. Some still clenched their fists, unwilling to accept what they had seen. Others bowed their heads, their thoughts heavy with fear. But all of them knew the truth. The boy had planted a seed that could not be killed. The story would spread. Across ships, across planets, across the stars, the tale would be told. A human child and a honey badger stood against a camp of warriors and did not fall. And with every telling, the legend would grow. For some, it would be a warning. For others, a call to fear. And for a few, perhaps even a call to respect. The boy disappeared into the night, his figure swallowed by the darkness. But the fire he had lit in the hearts of his enemies burned on, brighter than any campfire, brighter than any star. And so the legacy began not of one child, not of one beast, but of humanity itself. The galaxy would never laugh at humans again. Not after this night.